Hey everybody, this is Tom with The Board Gamer. Today we're going to do a quick overview and review of this game. If you want the full how to play, click the banner above or the link in the description below. Now let's get into it. Path of Civilization is a 1 to 5 player game for ages 14 and up with an average gameplay length of 20 minutes per player. Published by Captain Games. The basic overview of Path of Civilization has players managing a nation over the course of 9 rounds with several phases in each round. The start of each round, players will use only 4 of the technology cards in hand and remove 1 from play. With the 4 technologies in play, you will receive bonuses such as cubes to gain builders, ambassadors, philosophers, sages, and units, and/or research points to help you discover and use new technologies. After collecting bonuses, you may purchase only 1 new technology and gain the bonuses marked around the tech you purchased. And finally, end the round by completing the events, which will likely be a yellow challenge card or red battle card. And then begin the next round, going through the same process until the end of the 9th round. Calculate the score, and the player with the most points is crowned the leader of the most glorious civilization of humanity. But more importantly, they win. To start, I want to say that I'm a huge Civilization computer game fan, especially Civilization 5. And every iteration of Civilization I have found in board game form has seemed too intimidating to try. And that is usually due to the map. Personally, I'm a bit of a boring Civ player, since I always try to win with science, philosophy, or diplomacy. So when I happened upon the demo table of Path to Civilization at Dice Tower West, and given the shorthand of the game, I was curious enough to sit and play. I was immediately enthralled, and went to purchase it the next day when the vendors arrived. And let me tell you why. Before I tell you what is in the game, I want to tell you what is not, and that is a map. This is strictly a tech evolution game of Civilization. So with that, the centerpiece of the game is the 5 different tech types with 4 levels of each. This is the meat of the game. These tech cards dictate the cubes you will be playing and the increasing research levels to purchase more advanced technology cards. The wooden cubes are nothing special, but they are used for so many different things, like making the numbers of ambassadors, builders, and units you have, which is really determined by the tray they are in. So I think that gives them a pass to not be something exciting. Speaking of what you use cubes for, the assortment of leaders and wonders throughout time are pretty famous, with a few obscure ones. Their player boards are nice, and I really like at the bottom of each one are the phases you go through in the game with easy to read iconography, to make sure everyone can follow along. And with the dual board trays and research board are a nice touch and help keep things organized. This game is made very well in my opinion, and I enjoy the look and feel of it every time I play. For a game that takes up a good amount of space on the table, it is relatively easy to learn and play. The main factor is there is little direct conflict with other players, which lets everyone talk out their strategy if needed without giving anything away. Even if there is a player conflict, usually around wonders or leaders, players just have to compare icons at the top of their board, and the player whose icon comes first from left to right wins. But nothing bad happens for the other player. They just need to pick a different card or wait to save up for a better card later. But even before getting that far into the game, every phase is simultaneous and listed on the bottom of each player board. Each player is walking through the game at the same pace. The actions never stray from the play and purchase, but what you play and what you purchase dictate the outcome of the game, with fun little challenges popping up at the end of every round. But these challenges are on full display from the start, letting you know what you need to prepare for and what you can just ignore. This is the perfect game to handhold new players without it feeling like you are handholding them. Now, in discussing luck versus strategy, I think luck only really occurs when setting up the game. There are a good amount of cards for each level of leaders and wonders, as well as the round cards. This not only allows for greater replay value,
but it also determines the type of strategy you may use when playing. But once the round cards are up and put into play, you can start to get your strategy in your head and work towards the initial challenge, or skip it and work towards a more rewarding challenge that comes up later on in the game. And depending upon the shuffle, the different wonders and leaders can sometimes be varied or lean heavier on playing a certain way. The abilities of some of the leaders and the endgame scoring on some of the wonders really make the game, in my opinion. And unless you are trying for a strategy that is super low on your player's priority board, you will generally get to implement that strategy to your heart's content. I mentioned the variety of the cards earlier, making the replay value higher. And that is true for both the cards you collect and the round event cards. Another thing the Path of Civilization has going for it, its replay value, is the different player boards. It may be small, but the initial bonuses that favor tech and the favorable techs at the top of the player boards make certain play types a bit more favorable than others. Not saying you have to take that route, but it's good to have a jump start. For example, it doesn't really matter which board I get. I always try to get things centered around population. So it's always nice to get a leg up on the competition with the player board that has the initial bonus for population. Aside from the cards, the ease of play really helps its replay value. But I will say the physical size of the game does make the replay value lessen a bit. Thankfully, my table is big enough that it does not hinder me personally, but I can see those with a smaller setup may not want to set up all this stuff and then have no room to play. I mentioned earlier that I am a fan of the Civilization computer games. So theme-wise, this game really resonated with me. And I was able to learn this game with people passionate about it at Dice Tower West, which made its initial impression very positive. Honestly, had we not sat down to play with Ibrahim and Eva, I think this may have been another Civilization board game I would have been curious about from afar. But thankfully, we were able to see how easy it played out, since it sticks more to the technology side of Civilization that I generally like to play, and less of the map control some of the other games offer. I think this is a well-themed game, and it feels good to teach, learn, and play, which are three aspects of this hobby that I enjoy. If I leave you with one thing, I want you to not be intimidated by its looks. It's a well-designed game in my opinion, and it is very fun to play. This board gamer says, just like every empire started with the fire, so does every game start with a player. From there, you can choose your path
of civilization.
Not boring.
Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, and ring the bell to get notified about new videos. If you're bored now, click this for more games.